You're listening to Served Up, a podcast that features inspiring beverage professionals and topic experts that share their passions through meaningful conversations. I'm your host, Bridget Albert, also known as the Market Fresh Mixologist, an industry mentor with decades of experience. Grab a cocktail and sit back. Let's learn how we can make a positive impact in our industry. Hey y'all, it's Bridget here. I had the chance to sit down with Charlotte Voisey. Charlotte is a living legend in the world of cocktails, currently serving as the executive director of Tales of the Cocktail. With an incredible career spanning roles from mixologist to the Hendrick's brand ambassador to leading a global team, she has become a leading force in the beverage industry. Beyond her technical expertise, Charlotte is passionate for health and wellness and promoting mindful drinking practices. She also is deeply committed to inclusion, working to make a space for all voices in the industry. Her leadership continues to inspire and empower the next generation of cocktail professionals, ensuring her lasting legacy in the world of spirits. So sit back, relax, and grab yourself your favorite cocktail and enjoy the show. Charlotte, welcome to Served Up. I'm really happy to have you on the show today.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much, Bridget.
Can you tell our listeners a bit about your background? What really brought you into beverage?
This will be going back a little bit. I've been in the US for nearly 20 years. I'm originally from London, moved over here in 2006 to become a brand ambassador with Hendrick's Gin and William Grant & Sons. But before then, I started out as a bartender in London. I was fortunate enough to join a really great restaurant group that were based in London, but had branches and restaurants and bars all around the world. And with them, I went to Spain. I spent a couple of years in Argentina, just learning restaurant and bar management. When I came back to London, the London cocktail scene was just starting to happen. Competitions, brand ambassadors, the idea of studying the classics, those kinds of things were new to us in the early 2000s. And I was really lucky to kind of ride that wave and get in with that era right before I moved to the US. So I like to say kind of started as a bartender, but have done many different things along the way.
Yes, I know you have. And I know as a bartender, you won a important cocktail competition, correct?
I did. I won. Thank you for mentioning that. I won UK Bartender of the Year in 2004. And when I do mention that, it's not only to brag, but it's also to talk about how important competitions can be for certainly younger bartenders. Not only does it challenge us, keep us on our toes creativity-wise, but realistically, it can just open doors that otherwise you can't imagine. And that's certainly what it did for me. It shot my name up onto different shortlists and just afforded me opportunities I wouldn't have imagined otherwise.
Well, I know that we look back at 2004 and even 2005. I really started competing with cocktails as well and had won a cocktail competition. And I have to say that during that time, there wasn't a whole lot of ladies participating in them. And so it really, truly was that springboard, right, for next steps.
Yeah, for sure. It was the same in the UK. There weren't many females doing what I was doing. It was very much a male-dominated industry back then, more so than it is now. And sometimes that affords opportunities to stand out a little bit. But obviously it comes with challenges too. So it was an interesting time, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, can you fast forward a bit, So you went from behind the bar, and I know that you became a very celebrated brand ambassador. Can we talk about that part of your career with Hendrick's?
Yeah, that was a wonderful part of my career. 2006, I moved to New York. Super exciting for someone from London, and joined William Grant & Sons, who were very early on in their journey into what a brand ambassador is. Up until then, the company had really been focused on Scotch whiskey. So not really in the bartender advocacy realm, certainly not really a main player in the cocktail world. But I was brought in to really bridge the gap between the brands and the bartender community. And it was quite a smart move, I think, on their part. Came over and Hendrix was one of the brands I'd always loved. Before I took the role, I sought advice of a few close people, and they sort of said the number one rule, which I think is still true now, is it really helps if you truly do love the brand that you're going to be an ambassador for. Because it's a testing position, it's long hours, lots of travel, lots of excitement. And if your passion for the brand is true, it just really helps. So Hendrix was one that I kind of fell in love with by myself. So when the opportunity came up, it felt right. And I knew that that would stand me in good stead.
Yeah. And you went, you really built yourself a fantastic career through being an ambassador. Can you talk about what those next steps were? Because I know that you eventually had a team.
Yes, that's right. I started off as Hendrix ambassador here in the US, and I was just kind of following my gut, my intuition, following the leadership of some others, notably Simon Ford, who had moved to the US just before me and did a lot of work on Plymouth Gin. He was a huge help, just kind of showing me the ropes, introducing me to a few people. But we were different people. We had different brands to promote, and I decided to do things my way. So just kind of followed my intuition. A lot of what we do in the industry, as you well know, Bridget, is networking and the relationships that we build, which often quickly turn into friendships. And I had a lot of those early on that I was able to lean on and work with. So that really helped me early on. And then I think my work was proving to be fruitful for Hendrix Gin and for the rest of the portfolio of William Grant & Sons. So quickly our ambassador team started to grow. I was able to kind of coerce a few friends to join us, Jim Ryan, Gaston Martinez in the early days. And our ambassador team started to grow, and therefore it needed a bit of a leader, like a mentor, someone who had done that role before. And that person was me. So I became the team leader for the US, and then eventually globally leading 100 brand ambassadors across 40 different countries, which it was as incredible as it sounds, as diverse and interesting and playful, all the gregarious characters and personalities you can imagine in such a group. Really fulfilling. Really, really enjoyed that.
And how did you find any sort of, and I don't believe in balance, by the way, I'm going to tell you that right now, Charlotte. Okay. I think that it's just a bunch of horseshit. I don't believe in work-life balance. I don't think that there's such a thing. I do believe that you can find peace in your life and you can find some satisfaction, as well. But because a lot of times when we're putting up our focus here, something over there is not getting that attention, right? And so, how did you remain sane all the years as your career evolved? You had so many demands on yourself and really building something that didn't truly exist, right? And I talked, you and I, when we were behind the bar and then evolved into another role, all those roles were something new to the industry, right? And so there's always the learning curve and so much, I think, pressure that is put on you.
There can be. I think for me, I never found things daunting because it wasn't, for example, like I'm standing at the foot of Mount Everest and I know that I have to climb to the peak. I didn't know what the peak was. It wasn't like there was a specific end goal. I didn't even know the enormity of what we were doing at the time. Didn't understand kind of how big and important it would come to be. So in some ways that took the pressure off. I was trying my hardest, of course, always, but enjoying things as I went and assuming that I did remain sane. I think I was just always well in tune of my own limits and what I need in order to enjoy life, right? So if we talk about wellness, for me, it's always been sleep, diet, and exercise. I know that I have particular needs, as does everyone, but I think I was just maybe lucky enough to be aware of those from the get-go. Also, when I first joined the company and moved to the US, people said, oh, you'll be a brand ambassador, you'll put on 30 pounds in your first 2 months. And I was like, nuh-uh, I'm not doing that. I'm not prepared for that to happen to me, and I'm in control of what happens to me. So while it may have been a joke or a throwaway line, I took that to heart and made it very clear to myself that if you're going to do this and enjoy it and thrive, right? Because often we talk about what do we need to do to get by? or to
Right.
survive. And I don't want to survive. I want to thrive and enjoy my life and my work. So I knew what I needed from those three areas. And people always talk about my discipline and kind of diligence to detail. But for me, it's just what I need to do to enjoy life. So I've been pretty good from that standpoint.
Yeah. And you've done a great job. I mean, I just know from knowing you through the past, I guess it's been a couple decades now, it seems like, I don't know, for a long time, that, you know, you have had that even keel, it seems, at least from the outside. You know, you've been a great example to so many with a focus on your health, you know, whether it's through yoga or, you know, eating right, not, you know, participating in overconsumption, for instance. So
yeah, and that's me. You know, I'm just me. And if it has been a good example to others, then I'm pleased and I'm glad that I've been able to do that. And I think when you start out, or certainly when I started out, I never thought about any of that. But once you realize, oh, you have got a bit of a platform and a presence and others may be looking up to you, then I do think there's a little bit of a responsibility in that case to, if messages are being sent, that they be helpful. Not everyone's going to follow my lead and live the way I do. But if it can be helpful to some, then great.
yeah, I think that it has been. I know it has been for me, really, especially at this stage in my life. Like, you were really a shining example on, you know, how we can have that wellness for real in our life. In this not just lip service, guys. Before we talk about what your current role with Tales of the Cocktail, can you talk about some of the highlights in your career? Would love for our listeners just to hear about some things that just really stand out and just sparkle for you.
There are just so many. I mean, I think, like I mentioned earlier, the relationships and friendships that I've made in this industry, as you well know, Bridget, for yourself as well, are just priceless. And things that I'll always keep with me and take with me. When I did leave William Grant & Sons last year, that was a big moment of reflection for me. I was looking back at my career thus far, specifically 18 years with one company and 18 years of being recognized in a certain way by the industry. As a brand ambassador, you're very closely identified with the brands that you work with. So my reflection point was, what are the highlights of those last 18 years? And even the simple thing of putting an Instagram post together to try and convey that message was really difficult, right? Because there's just so much. I used to say that being a brand ambassador was having like a backstage pass to life. The events that we would go to, the TV shows we would rock up and be on. I mean, it's like a dream. I was on Food Network a few times. I know that you did Iron Chef as well with Tony. I was fortunate enough to do that. And that remains one of the highlights in terms of sheer experience. It was terrifying, but thrilling at the same time. And then the events that I got to do at Tales of the Cocktail, I think just at the time, again, just thoroughly exciting, interesting projects to work on, allowed me to flex myself creatively and work with others. But then in hindsight, it actually was part of a bigger movement. And that's tremendously rewarding to be able to look back on highlights and not just enjoy the moment, but understand again that they were part of a bigger movement than just that one day.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I mean, I can tell you one of my highlights for your career. On the outside,
I love this.
Is, girl, whenever you go to Chef's Garden, I am on the other side. Yes. I am on my phone and watching you there, just going, wee, good girl. Oh my gosh. It is such a magical place. And it warms my heart whenever I would see you there. Like, I never personally saw you there, but I have been there. And just to see that you have had that experience warmed my heart.
The Chef's Garden in Ohio is hands down one of my favorite places on earth. We affectionately call it the Patch. And it is a magical patch. Have been there many times now with Chef Jamie Simpson and Farmer Lee Jones. And it's funny because I used to do the US brand ambassador team annual trips. And because we're so fortunate to have brands from around the world, we used to travel to Iceland or to Scotland or to Italy. And then one year I announced we were going to Ohio. Exactly right. The group were like, what now? It remains to this day one of the best trips we've ever had. There's just so much creativity and magic and being at one with nature. I'm glad that you understand that. And for anyone listening, if you ever get the chance to go to the Chef's Garden in Ohio, I hope it changes your life like it did mine, because it certainly
It did mine as well. The times that, I've been fortunate to go there, I just find it so interesting. It was the first time I had ever been in a field of corn, and Farmer Lee said, just pick some corn and we'll just eat it right here in the field. Like, without cleaning it properly, without cooking it. Yeah, just try it. And it was fantastic. And just having, like you said, that true connection with nature.
And just understanding that carrots are supposed to taste like they do there, not how they taste everywhere else.
Yeah.
And it is special and we hold it up on a pedestal, but that's how it should be. And it's just a reminder of, how the agricultural system has changed so much. But as beverage people, we're still part of the food and beverage world. And I think there are many lessons that transfer over to how we should understand and respect the drinks that we're serving too.
Yeah, 100%. Well, let's talk about what you're doing today in your new role at Tales of the Cocktails Foundation as a new executive director. What's that going to look like for you? And what's that going to in turn, look like for the foundation?
So I'm really super excited that this is my new role in the industry. Having left a really important part of my career, what came next was important for me to be, a continuation of the story. Wasn't ready to leave the industry. I wanted to continue on. I've gotten so much from this industry. So as the executive director of the Tales of the Cocktail Foundation, I'm now proudly responsible for everything that Tales does to support the industry, really. It's not just that week in New Orleans. It's a 365-day, year-round effort to educate, advance, and support the industry. And that takes many different forms, different events, different discussions, ideas, partnerships, scholarships, you name it. But essentially, it's an opportunity to give back and help and invest all of my skills, experience, passion, contacts, understanding of this industry to a platform, a neutral platform in the industry that truly exists to give back and do good. And that feels really great right now.
Yeah, gosh, I bet. I mean, I don't think that they could have hired anyone better than yourself for the position, truly, because of, what you bring and because of just how sincere you are. And I know how much you really do care about the people in the industry. And in order to be any part of Tales, right, you have to come in with that spirit.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a nonprofit foundation. It is a mission-driven cause, right? An organization, and we're all there to work towards advancing the industry. That's the North Star. So that also has to align to a degree to personal values, not only for me, but for everyone on the team. And if that's the kind of thing that gets you excited to get out of bed and work hard, then you're in the right place. And that certainly aligns with my values, especially, like I said, right now at this stage in my career. I've kind of always thought I've been very lucky and fortunate, right place, right time kind of girl in this world. And it really does feel nice to be able to give some of that back. At the same time, though, it's a great opportunity for me to learn and grow myself. There are going to be challenges and skills that I pick up in this role that I haven't before. So for me as well, it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, I think that they are so lucky to have you. And for our listeners, maybe who not too sure what Tales of the Cocktail is, or maybe they haven't attended, can you give a quick overview of what to expect if you do attend?
Sure. So essentially, Tales of the Cocktail is the world's largest cocktail conference. It's the most important gathering of spirits and cocktail people anywhere in the world. And it happens every year in New Orleans in July, in the heat of the summer, literally. But it's a true global gathering of the industry. A lot of industry folk call it like our family reunion. But it's the education that's always been the backbone of Tales of the Cocktail. The seminar program is first class. It's the best in the industry. very thoughtfully put together. But there's also plenty of opportunities to taste new spirits, taste cocktails from the world's best bartenders. We have people attend Tales from literally all over the world. And also Tales is quite famous for the big parties at night too, which are just super fun. Most brands and ambassadors and bartenders and creatives in the industry kind of launch or save their best work for Tales. And then for the rest of the year, kind of take it around to other events and occasions. So it's really like the best of the industry all together in one beautiful, crazy, rain-drenched, hot week in New Orleans.
It is hot for sure, but it's so much fun. And it's not just only for, the beverage pro. I know at Tales of the Cocktail, I've seen so many cocktail enthusiasts that attend.
Yeah, I mean, Tales is essentially open to everyone, right? It's accessible to all. We have a website that's operational year round. And like I said, Tales of the Cocktail, the event, is definitely the focus, but the foundation does work to support the industry year round. But that week in July, anyone's welcome to come. There's sort of different registration options depending on what people might want to attend and see and do. But it's always a great time for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Will you be moving to New Orleans, Charlotte?
I wish I had this week. I love the snow and I would try that on my first day. No, I'm going to stay in New York City. This is my home at the moment. I can work remotely. Half of our team is based in New Orleans. Half of the team is spread around the country, which actually I think is a good thing because it allows us all to keep our finger on the pulse of the industry.
Sure.
Being around and about, understanding the issues, challenges, preferences of bartenders and what's happening on bar scenes around the country is super important, as well as on an international level. So I'll still be based in New York. I'll be traveling mainly domestically, some international travel, just to keep a tab on what's happening. And if we are to support the industry, we first need to know what's happening.
Oh, absolutely. And with that said, can we talk a little bit about the evolution of our industry? Because you really were on the forefront of that, what we like to call, I guess, like the golden age of the cocktail, the next golden age of the cocktail, right? And so can you talk about some of the things that you have seen change over the years, some positive changes that have happened over the years?
Yeah, I mean, I think evolution-wise, it's been seismic, right? It's been crazy. Yes. And my point of reference is the last 2 decades. It's the last 20 years. So that's when I sort of really got serious about cocktails in London. Like I mentioned earlier, just that first few years of education and bartenders being taken seriously and doing competitions and going on brand trips and learning about things properly. That happened in the UK a few years before the US. So I got to kind of go through it twice, which was great because the first time I was sort of observing, the second time I was leading a little bit more. But I think if you look over the last 20 years, evolution wise, first we had a lot of work to do to reinstate, to learn and bring cocktails and bartending back to where it had kind of left off. Most people would say pre-prohibition. Right. So it was almost like, let's get those books out from the 1800s, as crazy as that sounds, learn from those guys and kind of get everything back to status quo. And then from there, what we saw probably in the last 10 years were entrepreneurial bartenders, super creative with original thought, now taking the understanding of the classics and putting the modern spin on it. We have so many more ingredients available to us now. Globally, you can kind of have anything at any time from anywhere, always, in terms of ingredients. Bar tools now are better than they've ever been. Equipment in order to really maximize how we extract flavor from different ingredients. All of those things are at an all-time high. So you've got the understanding of the past back, and then you've got all of the modern thought. So for me, the evolution of the industry has been very positive in kind of 2 halves. It's been great to see.
Yeah, I agree. And I believe that it's been a lot more inclusive as well. And I want to talk a bit about that because I can tell you, like when I started off in Las Vegas, I worked at the Bellagio. That was not the start of my bartending career, by the way, but a highlight for sure in 1998. And we had over 200 bartenders. And I believe at the time there were 4 females, and that was it.
Wow.
And no females of any color, by the way. And so to see, just for me personally, right, to see how the industry has really pulled together and has made that battle cry to make a change, I think that it's been so incredibly powerful to see, and to just have a very small part in that, to see we still have a little, definitely a ways to go, but it's happening, right? It's definitely happening.
Yeah. And I would like to give kind of a first very big shout out to Ivy Mix and Lynette Marrero for establishing Speed Rack, back in 2008, 9?
Yeah, something. Yeah, like in Chicago was their first one.
That's right. What they did by starting that, and what they've continued to do, is just really bust open that idea of celebrating female bartenders. They literally put them on a platform and celebrated them, and just made it cool and okay and accessible for female bartenders to be part of something that's just so positive in every way. I mean, the energy at any Speed Rack event is always electric, and it gives those female bartenders such motivation to carry on doing what they're doing. And I'm sure it's brought many females into bartending that otherwise maybe would have had a few second thoughts. So they deserve a lot of credit, I think, for how far we've evolved when it comes to gender diversity, at least in the industry.
Yeah. I mean, and it goes beyond that as well, right? So, when we look at anybody who's been marginalized, whether it's the Black community, the LGBTQ community, I think that today it has just gotten, I know that there's so much more work to do, but it is really fun to see that the people working behind the bar reflect communities. Because I can tell you, when I first started, it just didn't.
Yeah, it's come a long way. Things are going to get rocky again, I think, for a little bit.
You think so?
Trying not to watch the news today.
For maybe the next 4 years, it might be a little scary.
But that's a big part of what the Tales of the Cocktail Foundation is also here to support, right? It's about communities. It's about being there for everyone that's a part of this industry. And DE&I will remain a big part of what the Tales of the Cocktail Foundation does. And if there are gaps to fill where others can't participate as they used to or would like to for whatever reason, then hopefully that's something that Tales can continue to support, because it's so important. It shouldn't even feel like a big extra thing. It's the bare minimum, really, of what we should be doing for the industry.
You are so right. So right. I can't wait to see what you do next, lady. I'm so excited. I would like to shift over to some personal things about you. Just a couple things. I'm not going to embarrass you. First, I want to talk about your book.
Oh, yes. You can't see me blushing. That's a good thing.
And I don't have a copy of it here because my nieces actually took it. So I don't have it anymore.
But no, that makes me happy. It's for them.
Yes, they're 5 and 7 and they love it. But can we talk about your beautiful book and how did that come to be? And it's I want to hear all about it.
Yeah, so it was during COVID. I started doing an online course, how to write a children's book. And it had been something very tiny in the back of my head for a long time that maybe one day I would do that. And COVID, it presented a lot of us with opportunities just to try new hobbies or do different things. So that's what I did. And then last year I had a few months off of work between my roles. And I thought, this feels like a good time to get this book done. So it was all kind of written and done. I got with a publisher, connected me with a great illustrator, and I put out just before Thanksgiving A Christmas Wish by Charlotte Voisey.
Yes.
A beautiful little story about a penguin who was desperately hoping for snow in time for Christmas. You'll have to buy the book to find out what happened, of course. But it's a lovely book it's aged between, I think, 3 and 8 for children. Yeah. And let me tell you, the curveball that threw into the industry, a lot of people wondering what I was going to do next. And I don't think anybody had that on their Charlotte Voisey bingo card which made it all the more fun.
Oh, ma'am. No, I did not expect, actually, because I did buy the book and to support you as a friend.
Thank you.
But I don't like, our daughter is grown. She's in college. So I have no toys here anymore. I don't have like, my house is fun in the summer, but not so much in the winter. And so when Ruby and Charlie came here, who are littles, my little nieces, and they wanted to read. They literally said, "You have anything, Auntie B, we want to read." I'm like, "Shit, no, I have nothing." And I'm like, "Oh, I have Charlotte's book." And they sat on my couch here in my basement. I was going to take a picture, but I'm like, "Oh, I'm not going to do that." But they did. They sat here and they read it, and then they took it home. They absolutely loved it. So you had them on the edge of their seats.
That's great to hear
from
them, right? Because it's important what the kids think. While I've appreciated the support of all my friends, it's up to the children. So that's great to hear.
Yeah. Yes, very much. And then who did your illustrations? Because the illustrations are so sweet.
Yeah, they're really lovely. I had a couple of illustrators kind of presented to me, and Anastasia, the lady that did the illustrations, I just really liked her style. So it was funny. She was pretty much good to go from the start. She sent me a couple of samples of like the first page. And my only feedback was to make the characters a little bit chubbier because I think they're cuter that way. But otherwise, she nailed it, and really, really pleased with it.
Oh, it's so cute. A Christmas Witch by Charlotte Voisey. You must purchase one today.
On Amazon now.
Yeah. Yes, on Amazon. That's where I got mine. What else are you doing for fun outside of the beverage industry? Are you still playing an instrument? Was it the trumpet that you were playing? Can you talk about some of the fun things that you do besides keeping the beverage industry as a whole in the whole wide world alive and well?
Yes, I do some other things. It's the tuba that I play, and these days I play it pretty much once a year. There's an organization called Tuba Christmas, which some people listening might have heard of. It's all over the US. In most major cities, actually, you'll be surprised how popular this is. And a few days before Christmas, depending on the dates, I do the one in New York City, which is at the Rockefeller Center on the ice rink. It's quite iconic. We go there, have a rehearsal, and then in the case of New York, about 300 tubas walk out onto the ice and play a carol concert for 45 minutes. You can check with Julie Reiner because she came along a few years back with her family to watch it, and it is a beautiful thing to do at Christmas time. So I still play the tuba once a year. That's my musical talents. But otherwise, it's a lot of tennis, running, hot yoga, that kind of thing. Plenty to distract me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, can you leave our listeners with some advice? I think a lot of our listeners tune in because they want to maybe enter the beverage industry or just curious about the beverage industry as a whole. And so do you have any advice for our listeners if they want to, kind of step their toe into beverage?
Yeah, it's a wonderful industry to join. Lots of great characters and people to learn from. Bartending itself, I think, is still very much a mentor-apprentice kind of model. Because as much as you can read books and go to a bartending school, there's really there's nothing like learning from someone. So finding a good team, good people around you, maybe visiting different types of bars to see what sort of bar you might like to work in, because they're all quite different. Being a bartender isn't the same in every type of bar, hotel, restaurant, casino, you name it. So understanding the environment in which you might want to work is quite important. But it's not just bartending anymore. There are so many career paths now. That's another thing that's evolved since 20 years ago. So many wonderful career paths in beverage. And remember that it doesn't have to revolve around alcohol anymore either. There's a thriving, growing, low and no alcohol segment to our industry that might be more accessible to some if that's an obstacle.
Yeah, that is really, really great advice. There's so many skill sets that folks have, right, that they can tap into. And I believe especially if you were a bartender, because you come with so much just besides the knowledge of how to make a drink.
Absolutely. I mean, bartenders are the ultimate multitaskers.
Yes.
They're the ultimate elegant swan up top while everything's flapping underneath, keeping your cool, interacting with people of all types in all scenarios. Having been a bartender for a few years, I am so grateful for those transferable skills I got. Again, you don't realize it at the time, but they come to serve you in life. And you can also be a great host to your friends, entertaining at home, which is always lovely to do.
Absolutely. Well, Charlotte, just on behalf of Served Up, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. I would love to have you back maybe after the dust settles on Tales of the Cocktail after we get through July and just keep up with your journey, if that's okay.
That would be wonderful. And thank you so much for having me on. I've really looked forward to it and really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you, Bridget.
I have too. I just want to wish you some great health and a lot of peace. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening. Served Up is brought to you by Southern Glazer's Wine and Spirits. Produced by Zunu.online. Music by We Killed the Lion can be found on Spotify. Make sure to subscribe to be notified of our future Served Up episodes. Cheers.